Hello, everyone. Welcome to Self Love You. This is Jenna Ryan, your self love life coach. Today, I'm going to talk about how to handle verbose, manipulative people who are trying to put you in a box and are not allowing you to exist in their own minds. So, this is an audio, a podcast, whatever you want to call it, where I'm going to describe 30 vague statements that ways you can respond to judgments that people make about you. So at certain times, you will come across people who make judgments about how you are feeling and then passive aggressively, let's say, attack you for how they say that you are feeling. This is a complete violation of boundaries. Have you ever had someone tell you how you feel or tell you, and you're like, what? I'm not feeling that, but okay. Or dictate to you how you feel. That's what we're going to talk about today. 30 vague statements in response to such judgments, and it's going to get pretty deep and cool, so I'm excited to share this with you. I've been working on it for about a week or more, just really trying to come up with the right way to explain it. So, welcome to my channel. If you are new here, please click subscribe and click the notification bell. Leave a comment if you like this information, and also like it and share it. Okay, so I wrote this down, and it's kind of convoluted. Listen, I said 30 vague statements when someone is trying to one-up you, analyze you, and squish you out of existence using word salad and NLP manipulation. So there is a tendency, like let's say someone, like you're talking with someone via text, this happens on text for me, but it's actually happened in person as well, where someone just gives you this long diatribe of something that's about you, who you are, and they start making judgments about how you feel, your motivations. They make assumptions about what your intentions are, and you're like, what? And it's like word salad. They start using all these fancy words, and the tendency is to kind of go, oh my gosh, and immediately want to take up for yourself, to immediately want to right the wrong. And this can happen with someone who does not know you. I've had someone who I don't even know very well, who I don't even talk to often, just all of a sudden just blurt out what they think about me in, just a personal setting, blah, 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 and using all these words, all these sentences, giving me all this advice, telling me how I feel. And it was very bizarre. And I just want to explain to you the reaction that I had and the reaction that one might have, and then better reactions so that we can do better in the future. So some questions I wrote down to kind of help you to figure out if this has happened to you is, have you ever had someone tell you how to feel? Okay? Tell you how to feel. You should feel this, you should feel that, you should, they use God, they use whatever they can, the universe, whatever they can to tell you how to feel. Have you ever had someone tell you that you are offended? Have you ever had someone tell you that you are triggered? That is very strange to me, to have someone tell me that I'm offended. I'm like, what? How can someone else tell me what I am? How can someone else tell me what I feel? How can someone else tell you that you are triggered? That's so weird to me, because a trigger is something that's internal. You feel it deep within your soul, and it causes you to feel bad, or really just, it's the most awful feeling to be triggered. And for someone else to say, if you respond, like if you set a boundary for them to call you triggered, or if you set a boundary for them to say that you're offended, that is so weird. Or have you ever had someone dictate to you what you're feeling? Have you ever had someone tell you why you're feeling what you're feeling? You're like, what? Can you ask me how I feel, please? Please do not dictate to me how you think I feel because it's incorrect. And then if you do that, then they say you're triggered. So it's this circular argument, and it's very interesting. We're going to get into it. Have you ever had someone misread your emotions without clarifying it with you personally? Have you ever had someone tell you you're feeling a certain way instead of asking you how you feel? That is so annoying to me. I cannot stand it. It's virtually rendering you non-existent in the conversation when someone tries to tell you how you feel and then goes on and tries to tell you what to do about how you feel and why you feel what you feel. Have you ever had anybody do that to you? If so, tell me in the comments. I mean, like, literally, not only tell you how you're feeling right now, but why you're feeling how you're feeling and what you should do about it and how you could be more like them, which is not. Oh, it's just crazy. Crazy making. Now, there is a time, if you're in therapy or you're in a deep, intimate conversation with a trusted friend that you've known for a while, where you have an established bond, where a therapist might, inquire as to what's your underneath motivations, what's your subconscious motivations, with restraint, with respect. You may have a friend who maybe has been through something and they can, poke around a little bit and say, well, maybe it's this, maybe it's this. That is different. That's a place where you have trust built, where you've submitted to a therapist and they're helping you to figure out who you are because you're actively trying to figure out who you are and you're actively trying to investigate your own thoughts and feelings and motivations. This is different from when somebody comes in from the outside and tells you that you are triggered or tells you that you are offended no one can tell you that you are offended except for yourself. No one can tell you that you are triggered except for yourself. Anything less than them asking you how you feel and them allowing you to express yourself and them clarifying with you and allowing you to exist, anything less than that is tabloid. The newspaper has written a lot of articles about me saying that I think this, that, and the other. Okay? In the New York Post or whatever that magazine is, the Daily Mail. They can say whatever they want about, celebrities out there. She thought this, or if you read the National Enquirer, she thought this, and then she thought this. But truly, no one knows what you think except you. Now, people can see your behavior, and they may think that your behavior is indicative of offense. But then again, they may be offended by your simple setting of boundaries, distancing, saying, whoa, wait a minute, what are you saying about me? But there is a time and a place in a trusted relationship with a therapist or a person where it's okay for that person, you're allowing them to examine you, to analyze you, to look into the thoughts and the motivations. But then there's a place where somebody has no business jumping all up in your business, okay? And it could be a way to confuse you, to one-up you, to, if you don't realize, if you're not really in touch with your feelings, it could be a way to control you, manipulate you. It's not good to have somebody spewing out what they think you think without respecting and saying, do you think this? Are you triggered? I'm sorry, did I trigger you? Or I didn't mean to trigger you. I mean, that can even be offensive. If somebody does something offensive to you, like something rude that crosses the line, and then you respond by saying, excuse me, that is not good. And then they come back at you saying that you were triggered. You're like, no, I wasn't triggered. I am simply setting a boundary, or whatever the case may be. So also I had a therapist once who did this to me without permission. So in therapy, there's a gentle way that someone can prod and help you to figure out your underlying motivations, or maybe if there's, something you need to think about within yourself, you give them permission to do so. But I've had a therapist literally all of a sudden, out of the blue, I'd been going to her for a couple of months, and she started telling me all these things about the way I feel. And I was at a really sensitive moment, and I was not down for that. I was learning how to be me, and I was learning how to respect me, and I was learning how to be respected. And then all of a sudden, this therapist starts painting her thoughts of how I feel onto me, and just making declarative statements about how I felt. It was so bizarre, and I remember leaving and never going back, because I was very sensitive and I needed my space to feel my own feelings. And if you want to know how I feel, just ask me, is my thought. If someone wants to know how you feel, they can ask you. They don't need to tell you how you feel. And if they're telling you how you feel, they are violating your boundaries. And if they're accusing you of being angry or triggered, they have problems with boundaries, and that shows that they don't understand boundaries. So I'm going to go a little farther. You really have to guard your heart if there is someone who is spouting off a bunch of stuff that they think you feel, that they think you should do. They may even be in a spiritual context, church atmosphere. They feel like you need to start doing this, that, and the other. They may be giving you correction, but you haven't submitted to their correction, so really it's out of line. Or they may be, a fashionista, and they may be a fashionista, your friend in LA, and she's telling you how to dress. And all you're saying is you need a new outfit. And then she's coming out telling, well, you need this, 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 and this, and this. And you're going, what? Wait a minute. I don't need any of those things. None of that makes sense for me. Can you please ask me what I need, or inquire as to what I want and need and I'm thinking, or at least allow me to finish my sentence without coming in and giving me unsolicited advice, or telling me what I should wear, or telling me what I should do, how I should think, how I should feel. So you have to guard your heart and protect yourself from other people's judgments about you. And some people will just start creating stories. They will create stories about what they think you're thinking and go off on wild tangents, and then send you long, long texts about how they think you feel and what they think you need to do about it, and how you could be more like them, and that your life would change forever if you became like them. But the whole time they don't even know who you are, because they're just guessing. Nobody knows who you are except you. And you deserve to be respected enough that another person would ask you the question, how do you feel about this? And then respect your answer. And take that as the valid truth, rather than making assumptions, trying to mind read, trying to read your mind, trying to think that you think something you don't. That's so weird. The experience is weird, and it's the process of someone trying to one-up you and usurp your existence. They may not do it on purpose, but it's being done whether it's on purpose or not, and it's up to you to guard your heart. Like the Bible says, guard your heart with all diligence, for out of it flows the issues of life. You want to protect yourself from this person's judgments and the story they're telling themselves about you, that they're trying to regurgitate and get you to buy into. rather than buying into it and being a doormat, you really want to stand up and not go and not get into this mess. Because when someone does this, they're trying to take your energy from you. They're trying to force you to engage in a conversation or a argument or a debate that's not up for debate. How you feel is not up for debate. Who you are is not up for debate. If they want to know who you are and how you feel, they can ask you. And if you go on every little thing that these types of manipulative people, if you go and answer every little thing that they're doing or saying that's incorrect, then they have effectively won, in a sense, because you have expelled energy trying to right the wrong. They're trying to say that you are one thing, and you're sitting there spending energy trying to say, no, I'm not. That is an exercise in futility and will get you nowhere. So they're trying to tie up your energy. And so what you want to do is use their energy and let it flow off. Okay? This could also be someone who's trying to do an interview, a gotcha interview in the media, or trying to get you to say something, or trying to catch you or trap you. Trap you. It's entrapment. So here's some ways to get out of conversations like that and to rise above it and to stand above it, and really just you're putting it back on the person. Okay? So let's say someone's telling you, you feel this way and you feel this way and you should do this and I've done this and you should do like I did, and then you wouldn't be so triggered. Okay? Let's say this happens. Now I'm going to talk about the 30 vague responses that you can give to this that will snuff out their power in the conversation. It will give you the upper hand and will help you to save your energy for something more productive and someone more respectful. And that way, with these kinds of people, if they're doing this to you, they're not going to be at that moment, they're not going to necessarily be always, they're not always going to be respectful of your boundaries. Because if they're calling your boundaries triggers, and when you're being assertive, they're saying that you're being defensive, then you can't really get anywhere with those people. So here's some vague statements that you can use that will help you get out of the loop, get out of the tango, get out of the game, get out of their manipulation, get out of their word salad, and be a free person. And so number one is you could say, that depends on your definition of triggered. So if they're going on, you're triggered, you're like, well, that depends on your definition of triggered. And any word can fit in here. That depends upon your definition of offended. That depends upon your definition of anger. That depends upon your definition. So it really just shows them that you may have a different viewpoint. And how can they argue with that? They can't. I mean, they can go ahead, but they're going to get sick of arguing with themselves. Number two, you could say, I never thought of that. Okay, if someone tells you how you are and how you feel, you can just say, I never thought of that. I don't know. That is really going to take someone who's trying to attack you, entrap you, and manipulate you off track, because they want you to go toe to toe. They want you to get into the ring. They want you to mudsling. They want you to take up for yourself. They want you to give, they want you to expel your energy. But if you just say, oh, I never thought of that, it's a beautiful statement. 3, you really think that? Like if someone says, you're triggered, you really think that? Question mark. That way, they start to go, okay, this person is not going to let me dig into them. They're not going to let me get anything else. they're putting it back. You're putting the ball back in their court, and they're going to think, wow, what am I thinking? I don't know. And then that's them. Then they can take all their stuff and play on their side of the fence. You really think that? And then number 4, are you sure about this? Are you sure about all this? You're really offended and triggered and da 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 da, and you feel this way and you feel that way. And then you could say, are you sure about this? 5, I like this one. I thought these up. Okay, ready? You may be wrong and you may be right. It made me think of that song. You may be wrong and you may be right. You may be wrong and you may be right. You're really not saying anything, but you're also not agreeing with them, and you're not arguing with them. You're not trying to defend yourself, and you're not trying to exist. Basically, it's the thought of, don't have a conversation with someone who is committed to misunderstanding you. You may be wrong and you may be right. Or 6, I'm not sure if I agree or not. 7 is good. You can say, like if they've just given you a long explanation, you can say, can you explain what you're talking about? Or can you explain what you mean by that? And clearly they've already explained, but it shows you're not receiving it. So you just say, can you explain? And then I went onto ChatGPT, and I asked ChatGPT to help me. And I said 30 vague statement responses to judgments. And this might have been when the GPT came in. Or 8 was, what do you mean by that? So if you ask someone who's giving you a diatribe about who you are, what they think you are, how they think you are, or something rude, or something just off, or word salad that's about you, what do you mean by that? And number 9 is, that's one school of thought. I love it. That's one school of thought, That way you're like, okay, that's how you believe, but you're not really arguing. It's very vague. So they really have no comeback. And then number 10 is, interesting take on the matter. Because we know to go into battle with these people who do this to you, with so disrespectful to your humanity, we know there's no winning. So you might as well just kind of treat them like a child and say, interesting take on the matter, rather than go toe to toe. Number 11, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. I like that one. They can have their opinion about what they think you feel and believe and what you need to do with your life. But this shows that you don't agree, but you're not directly disagreeing. You're using a little bit of covert vagueness to actually hold your boundary and distance. I love it. Because with these people who are verbose, you can get all tangled into their manipulative web. 12, there are multiple sides to this issue. So that will get them thinking, okay, what am I missing? Especially someone who's trying to be holier than thou, or a know-it-all, or trying to give you unsolicited advice. You could say, there are multiple sides to this issue. And that's true. And it'll get them to thinking. And then you haven't agreed with them. You've said, okay, that's your side, and there's other sides too. And you've won. You've won on that front. 13, you could say that it's a complex situation. I like that. It's a complex situation. So if they're telling you who you are, how you think, how you believe, what you should do, and how you're feeling right now, you can say it is a complex situation. That way you show that you are aware, you're self-aware, that that person has told you a bunch of gibberish, and you know there's more to it. And they know there's more to it. And you've caught them in their game of manipulation. And that's all you have to say. You don't have to go on and explain why. You don't have to explain the complex situation. Once you start getting and explaining the complexities, you are overgiving, because you know who you are, and as soon as you have to start explaining that someone doesn't have the right to tell you how to feel, if you have to do that, then that person is just not ready to respect you. They can come back later and maybe, I'm not saying they're out forever of your friendship or your relationship, but they may be, because, I've had people correct from doing this. And, if they do it once, it's not the end of the world. But somebody who habitually and regularly doesn't allow you to exist and doesn't ask you how you feel, but rather puts labels on you, judges you, assumes how you feel, or, just drives me crazy. Number 14, you could say, there's more to that than there's more to this than meets the eye. There's more to this than meets the eye. Now, if you're actually offended and very hurt when someone puts labels on you in terms of telling you how you feel or telling you who you are, then that means you're growing. And that's wonderful. You may feel a strong sense of reaction. You may be triggered when someone does this to you. And if so, that's a good sign, because it means you know what's going on. And you can start saying, wait a minute. And you could start doing it within your own self. But to engage with someone who's doing that to you is to share your truth with somebody who doesn't deserve it and is not safe. So you have to put your little guard up using these vague statements, especially with these really manipulative people, because it helps you to kind of push them off without agreeing with them and telling them, without arguing, without flattering, without agreeing. You're not saying, oh, that's great. Okay, you're not telling them that they're great. You're not telling them that they're correct. You're using their energy against them like judo. You're not flattering them. You're not exerting any energy. You're just giving a little pushback and causing them to take all their thought processes and deal with them on their own, because you don't have time for this. It's very open-ended. When your vague responses to this gibberish are open-ended, they could be perceived in multiple ways. They're vague, and they do not allow them to take your solar plexus. You do not allow them to take over your I am, because you're saying that you don't know, but there's other ways, okay? You can also say it's a complex situation. There's more to this than meets the eye, okay? Because there's you with your own feelings, with your own experiences, and your own freedom as a free human to express who you are. And if you're not ready to express what they want you to express, or if you're not ready to realize what they want you to realize, or if there's some sort of cognitive defense in the way of you realizing whatever it is they're trying to tell you, that's your business, and you can learn it in your timing. Nobody has the right to come and tell you how to feel, who you are. They need to wait until you're ready. And how could they, if you just met the person and they're giving you all this advice and telling you how you feel, they're absolutely incorrect. Number 14, there's more to this than meets the eye. 15, the truth might lie somewhere in between. I love that. The truth might lie somewhere in between. That gets them thinking. It shows them, I know what you're doing. And it also shows that you're ready for this type of covert, passive-aggressive attack on your humanity, that you have your solar plexus intact, that you know who you are, and you've been here before, and you're going to handle this with panache. 16, I'm not entirely convinced either way. I'm not entirely convinced either way. How vague and beautiful is that? Thanks to ChatGPT. 17, I'm still processing the information. I don't like that one as well, but it could be used in certain places. If it's, if you could find a place to use it. But it basically diffuses the person's passive aggressive attack and attempt to overtake your solar plexus and cause you to exert energy on their agenda according to the meaning that they are giving words, according to the meaning that they are giving your actions. They are saying that your actions show that you feel this because they are assigning meaning to your actions, which is very narcissistic for them to do. They're using you like a tool, like an extension of yourself, rather than allowing you to exist and say how you feel, how you believe, what you want to do. You have the right to feel and believe what you want. You have a free will, but they're trying to usurp your will and put their own labels on you and assign their own meanings to whatever it is that you're doing and however you're trying to protect yourself. You could also say, I'm not entirely convinced either way. I love the vagueness of that. What are they going to say? John, you feel like you're being attacked. Or no, you feel like the world is against you. And da-da-da-da-da-da. And you're like, and then they go on and on and on. And then you could just say, I'm not entirely convinced either way. And that's kind of, ChatGPT is a bit verbose. So I would just say, I'm not convinced either way. Did I already say that one? This could be open to further examination. And then you could say there are other potential factors to consider. I love that, potential. That is so vague. And that will get them spinning on their world. And you've tossed the ball and they have to start thinking, yeah, there are other factors. I wonder what they are. I love it. 21, the situation calls for a nuanced approach. Wow, that's vague. 22, we should keep an open mind about it. When someone's trying to tell you how to feel and all of that, instead of getting angry, instead of trying to take up for yourself, instead of getting into that stupid argument because that's absolutely asinine, you could just say, we should keep an open mind about it, which is the absolute truth. Don't fight. Don't fight to exist. Just say, okay, if that's what you want to think, but we should keep an open mind about it. I wouldn't even say, okay, if that's what you want to think, because that could get you into some arguments and debates that, personally, who I am is not up for debate. I will not have a debate about who I am, how I feel, what I should do, why I do what I do. I will not be analyzed by someone unless I give them permission and pay them money or they're a very deep, close friend. It's tough to draw a definite conclusion. It's tough to draw a definite conclusion. Like if somebody's making conclusions, okay, it's tough to draw a conclusion, especially when you're trying to get into my head and it's not yours and go away. Okay, number 24, there are differing schools of thought. Even if some of the things, sometimes these people that do this will bring in a little truth and twist it in with their own idea of how things are. And they're just really enmeshed and they can't see you as a separate person. And it's so difficult for them to do so that they enmesh who you are and then try to imprint who you are through themselves. They won't let you be. So I love this. And, this calls for more investigation. It's not a black and white matter. That's a bad to the bone one. I'm going to put that at the top. It's not a black and white matter. Because the people that do this to you are thinking in terms of black and white, and they're forgetting that there's another person in the equation, and that is you and your thoughts and your feelings. And there's no, invalidation is black and white thinking. This is beautiful. I just love this. Okay, and you could say, the details are still fuzzy. I don't know, the details are still fuzzy. I know how you feel. You feel like this, and you should do this, and this is what would happen if you did that, and you would finally reach enlightenment if you did that, and you would become, blah, 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 blah. And you could say, the details are still fuzzy, because obviously this person doesn't have details that are yours. And so they're pretty fuzzy for that person. Okay. So rise above it. Don't react. Instead of reacting, instead of engaging, you're going a step higher and throwing back at them a level of weirdness that will cause them to have to deal with their own weirdness, and hopefully they'll grow. 29, we need more evidence to make a solid judgment. If you just met someone, I had someone I just met, I haven't talked to at all. And I guess because they saw me on social media or knew about something in my life, that they had all these things figured out about me. And they have no clue who I am inside, or didn't ask, and just started going off, boom, 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 who I am, what I need to do, all sorts of judgments. It was very strange. And I could say we need more evidence to make a solid judgment, because I don't even know this person. And you can also say, I'm not entirely clear on all the implications. I mean, you could say some version of this. I mean, that of course sounds like ChatGPT, but you get the point. But it's good to have a list of these one-liners, these vague statements. It's good to have a list so you can pull from it, so you're ready for it. So when someone sends you a long and billowing, a long and verbose text of a bunch of word salad of their feelings of who you are and what you are and who you should be, then you could just have a one-liner that says, we should keep an open mind about it. And here's another one. The context plays a significant role here. That would have been a good thing for me to say in that interview I did with NBC. I should have said, the context plays a significant role here. That would have not been as salacious, and they would probably quit wanting to interview me if I knew how to play these games. But I didn't, so you live and you learn. It's not a black and white matter. I'm not black and white. I have shades of gray. Okay, back to this. 29, we need more evidence to make a solid judgment. 30, I'm not entirely clear on all the implications. Too big of words. I don't like big words like that. 31, it's not an easy decision to make. You're triggered. Are you triggered? Someone should say, are you triggered? Are you offended? Did I offend you? Instead of saying, oh, sorry, I offended you. It's like, what? What are you talking about? You're going off on a tangent. And then you could say, this might require expert opinions. 34, I'm not sure how this will play out in the long run. I mean, that's just so vague. I love it. I'll put this list below. I should have told you that earlier. Let's see how things unfold. If you just met someone and they're giving you a bunch of crap and telling you who you are and how things are, you could just easily say, let's see how things unfold. And 36 is, it's a bit hazy right now. I just love that. It's just very robotic. It's very, it takes you out of the argument. It gets you out of defense. It gets you out of your feelings. It puts you to a higher place. They're trying to one-up you, play pinochle, get ahead of you, by telling you who you are. They're trying to usurp your solar plexus by telling you who you are, by disrespecting your existence. And you're coming back and you're saying, it's a bit hazy right now. You're basically saying, I don't feel like messing with this. This is incorrect. And rather than schooling them on how to treat you, you can't school someone on how to treat you. If they don't know these basic concepts of how to treat others, this means that this person does not have a self. If this person does not allow you to have a self, that is a sure, definite indicator that they do not have a self, that they are operating from a false self. Their false self tells them that if they can one-up you, if they can get ahead of you, if they can put you beneath them, if they can especially make you behave as if they put you beneath them, or especially cause you to react, or especially cause you any kind of reaction that they can use as fuel to attack you again or analyze you more, then that means they do not have a self, because they are not allowing you to have a self. And if they don't have a self, they have a self, it's just somewhere lost. Either it's gone forever or they can find it, depending on if they're, NPD. If they're NPD, they will never find it because they'll never be able to admit it. But if they're, cluster B with maybe some borderline, they may have the ability to find themselves and find their self and allow themselves to exist. And when they allow themselves to exist, they can allow you to exist. And when they're at that point of health, emotional health, psychological health, then they may be safe. Meanwhile, if you have someone who's trying to tell you who you are, trying to tell you how you feel, or using things that you may have told them in confidence, or something that you might have given, some sort of information you might have given them about yourself, little teeny tiny though it may be, using that and betraying your intimacy and using that as proof that they are correct, they do not need to get any closer to you. You must guard your heart from these people. And the best way, I think, to do it is just I never thought of that. I never thought of that. You really think that? What do you mean by that? That's one school of thought. Well, this is a complex situation. This is not a black and white matter. The details are still fuzzy because you're giving them, yourself is standing up. They have infringed upon yourself, your truth, your existence. They have tried to infringe, and you are standing up and saying, well, that's a matter of interpretation. It's not an easy decision to make. Let's see how things unfold. It's a bit hazy right now, and you just have to use one sentence, and you would be shocked at how it will diffuse this person's attitude, and it will back them off. And you may even be able to stay somewhat friends with them on a very superficial basis, but do not give any information about yourself to these types of people, because they will use it against you later. Okay, that's all I have for today. If you like this, leave a comment. If you like this, like it. If you like this, subscribe. I'm Jenna Ryan. Until next time, I'll talk to you soon. I love you guys. I love you, self-lovies. Thank you so much for listening. Talk to you soon. Bye.